He is very much a revolutionary, like many of the leaders that still are still alive in Iran today who were part of the revolution. But he's talked about during the campaign about freeing political prisoners, about lifting the restrictions on the press, and perhaps there might even be a free press, because of course now the press is primarily state-run. And he's talked a lot about issues that are of importance to young people, including the economy. And I think that Iranians are really counting on him to try to repair some of the damage that President Ahmadinejad did to the economy. So I think for all these reasons, people are very hopeful.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, you're surprised, given what happened back in 2009, you're surprised that the ruling clerics didn't engineer the elections. Why do you think they didn't?
Well, I think that there are a couple of theories. Of course, no one knows for sure, but I think that the one theory is, first of all, it was a bit difficult because there were 6 candidates, most of whom were conservatives, and the conservatives in Iran could not really agree on one candidate. And I think also that the authorities realized that they could also gain some legitimacy by allowing this vote to stand. I'm sure maybe they were surprised as well that Rouhani won, but I think that they believe that both domestically and internationally they can gain a lot of credibility, which they have lost since 2009 by running an election that was, from what we know, fair and legitimate. But I'd like to also point out that a lot of candidates were eliminated before we even got to the 6 that ran. So I don't want to put too fine a point on the fact that at least the voting was fair. The process that led us to the voting was very much engineered.
But of course, the reality is, and you touched on it there, that the power rests with the ruling clerics, doesn't it, and their revolutionary guards, and that's really the situation. So how many reforms could we expect to see in the next few years?
What's going to be interesting, because we have seen Supreme Leader Khamenei centralize power in the Supreme Leader's office, what's going to be interesting to see is how much he's willing to relinquish some of this power. I don't think, for example, we will see that much change on the nuclear issue, nor do I think we will see any change on Iran's Syria policy. I mean, they are supporting Assad, they're backing Assad, and that's not going to change. But I do think that they might allow more social freedom because society is demanding it, and they want to gain support, particularly after so many years of Ahmadinejad, and that's important to them. So it will be interesting to see on which issues they are willing to make some sort of compromises.
Yeah, and it's interesting too that the United States is ready to talk with Iran directly on the issue of its nuclear program, but Israel has said not so fast. And of course, at the same time, we've heard from Hassan Rouhani himself that the enrichment of uranium will continue. So where is the dialogue there? Where are the chances to create this trust between Iran and the West?
Well, I think that the negotiations between Iran and the P5+1 have deteriorated to such a degree that what we're talking about now is improving the atmospheric. So we're trying to improve the environment, the lack of trust, before we can even get to any substance. And I think that we've already seen that the Europeans are welcoming renewed talks now that there's a new president. We've seen cautious but optimistic statements coming from the Obama administration. So I think that all sides feel that this is an opportunity to build trust.